Welcome to Field Service Scheduling here at Microsoft Ignite. My name is Ben Ballmer. I'm a Global Director for Field Service. I'm joined today by two of our awesome program managers, Rag Guru, who is the Principal PM for Scheduling, as well as Vinay Namal, who's also Principal PM for Scheduling. We're going to talk a little bit today about really three things. One is, what is scheduling? What does scheduling look like? What do we think about, Microsoft think about scheduling? What do we think about? What are the scenarios we see, and what are the maturity model of how people schedule? And then last but not least, we're going to go into what our October release, or what we call Wave 2, service scheduling enhancements really are, with some phenomenal demos for those. So let's start off here by talking, what is scheduling? For those of you who are native English speakers, this might be kind of known, but for those who aren't, scheduling is kind of an interesting word, and that is both a noun, so it describes something, as well as a verb. So it's describing some action. So, and now would be today's schedule had me flying home on Thomas Cook. The verb might be Thomas Cook is scheduled to go into receivership this weekend. So scheduling, depending on how you're talking about it, means different things to different people. And that's even different in different types of scheduling. So we talk about schedule. There's a transportation schedule. What's my flight schedule? We also might think about work schedules. What are the days I'm working? What are the days I'm off? How is my work being done and prescribed? Delivery schedules, checking your UPS, your FedEx, your DHL for when's my package getting delivered. Then you also have production schedules. Now, all those might be or might feel very similar, but they're also very, very different in what they are and how they're comprised and how they get created. So what is field service scheduling? Well, a couple things here. So Gartner, by the way, they have a thing called a critical capabilities matrix. And they define it as appointment-centric, asset and equipment-centric, knowledge-centric, and outcome-centric. For the sake of today, when we're talking about scheduling, you look at it as an axis, as an X and a Y. At the bottom of it, you really have package service types with a short duration, which is really appointment-centric. And you see those a lot of times in things like utilities. For example, they're coming out to install internet at your house. There's a prescribed service with a short duration visit where the person is as important as getting the service done. And then you have kind of maybe custom or long duration. So I'm sending out one of my friends growing up as a kid. He was a crane operator. So his time duration was very, very long, and the type of service he offered was actually pretty packaged. He did one thing with the crane, he moved packages. And then you also have custom, maybe construction, for example, where the time duration might be short, but what you're doing on that job site might be completely custom. And then maybe you might move up in oil and gas, where it's both long duration as well as fully custom work, and everything in between. So when we think about scheduling, it's not really fair to compare scheduling across these different modalities. You have to really think of these scheduling modalities as different ways of doing scheduling, of activating scheduling, and thinking about how you actually schedule. Now, what they all generally have in common is location, skills, times, work rules for either crews, priorities, service level agreements, which resources you want, et cetera. So when we think about field service scheduling, you can't think of it as this one giant block that your scheduling for your field service organization is just like everybody else's. You've really got to figure out what the time duration is and what the service type is, and make sure you get the right match for the type of scheduling you're doing, as well as how you're actually doing the scheduling across them. So for example, Guru is going to show you some phenomenal enhancements to RSO. RSO is designed generally for short duration packaged service types. So that's what there's multiple interday appointments. If you have a long duration, one person sitting at a job site for 6 weeks, RSO is not really going to enhance their life at all. Or if you have somebody who's doing a custom service every time and let one person deliver that service, RSO is really not going to enhance that person's life either. In the middle, you might have RSO do some work and may also do some other work. So really, when you think about field service scheduling, it isn't just one giant block of scheduling. There isn't one type of scheduling. There's also many types of scheduling across the field service continuum. Now, if you're a longtime Dynamics person, this slide is going to make sense. If you're not a longtime Dynamics person, now's the perfect time to go get a cup of water and come back, or a cup of coffee or tea. Generally, in Dynamics, for example, for years, there's been activities. And generally how I describe this is scheduling is what somebody else does to you, and activity is what you do to yourself. So generally it's a one-to-one makeup. An account owner gets an activity scheduled against him or her. That's a activity. A schedule might be, I have 30 leads coming in, give them to the most skilled person to close those leads, because you might have 30 people who can close those. So it's really a one-to-one or a one-to-many type of activity. And that's really the difference between scheduling and activities in Dynamics. Now, let's talk a little bit about the stages of scheduling before we get into this here, because there's sometimes some confusion around, what do we really do around scheduling, and how can scheduling doesn't do X, Y, or Z? I would say actually there's three types of scheduling. There's really long-term scheduling, which is I'm looking at my demand. How many jobs do I have coming in? What's my seasonality? What's my staff levels? When am I taking vacation? When are my teams taking vacation? What are things going on? So really demand forecasting and capacity forecasting are really the long term. Now, I will just tell you that every company defines long term differently. Again, depending on X and Y axis we talked about earlier, demand could be 6 weeks out, could be 6 months out if you have a longer term project. So there is no good answer, but just let's use the definition of long term here, and you can define what long term is. And then maybe in the midterm, you might have some preventive maintenance schedules. So I want to only book my teams for doing 4 hours a day of PMs, so I can leave 4 hours a day for reactive work orders, for example. Or I might have some seasonality, or I might need to move people between locations based upon, I live here in Florida, so we have this thing called hurricanes. So based on hurricanes or other things coming in. And you use things, so the first one's kind of more Power BI, really more analytics. The midterm is really analytics plus using some components out of field service. And then short term, generally you actually build a schedule until, again, short term, which again, for some businesses could be a week out, could be 6 weeks out, could be the day before. Response to resource changes. I called in sick today. Guru's working overtime. He's coming to fill in for me. Maybe the customer called and changed their mind. Or maybe I'm getting close to bumping up against SLA, and I should do it. So when you think about the stages of scheduling, don't necessarily think of scheduling as one giant activity. It's not just the schedule board. There's a bunch of stuff behind it that is really more long and midterm focused. And then when we look at scheduling maturity, so it's important to look at how mature your organization is when it comes to scheduling maturity. So let's start off with, first of all, David Clark has written a phenomenal piece of documentation on the doc site, talking about the 5 stages of scheduling adoption. I'd recommend, if you haven't read it, go read it. And by the way, not one of these is going to be fit for every business, and not every business is going to be fit for every one of these. But you really have dispatch-led scheduling, which you start off with manual drag and drop. So the way dispatch has been doing that for years. You move into semi-automated, which is like scheduling assistant, kind of just, click, find the best resource, schedule it. And then you also have fully automated, which we generally think of as a resource cycle optimization type of play, but it's really more hands-off and it's exception-based. But there's another side of scheduling too, we're not going to talk about today, but just realize you have it here, which is technician-led. Sometimes you do drip scheduling, where when the technician finishes the work, the next work order gets fed to him or her. Or you might have self-directed scheduling. My job is to look at these 3 buildings, irregardless of what happens. In I call dispatch center, I might go create the work order myself. So scheduling maturity actually takes different stages in different places. And it's important as both a partner deploying Dynamics Field Service for your customers, or as a customer to understand where you are in the maturity continuum, understand what your present state is, and what your future state is going to be across this maturity model, because it's going to drive your adoption in a much cleaner method. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Guru now to talk about the Wave 2 releases for RSO, and then May's going to hop on and talk about the new schedule board.
Thank you, Ben, for the great overview of the industry and how the scheduling plays a critical role in the field service. Again, to introduce myself, I am Rag Guru, lead the product management for resource scheduling within Microsoft Dynamics. For the October wave, we focused in three areas within scheduling. First, new capabilities or features that help our customers to implement the business rules and get efficient schedule. Second, industry data says that 52% of customers still run their scheduling manually. This leads to poor business outcomes, whether it be increased utilization, ability to meet SLA, or lower customer satisfaction. We really want to help these customers. We are investing in bringing the intelligent optimizer, we know as RSO, directly into the board for the dispatcher persona. So no more siloed experience between schedule board and RSO. Third, we started investing in the next gen schedule board that is performant, efficient, and help dispatchers to do more. A year ago, we released a preview back in April of this year. Now I am super excited to announce that the new board is going to go GA in October, less than a month. Let's dig into the features that we are adding into the scheduling optimizer and reporting insights area. First feature, we are adding support for predictive travel time as part of the scheduling experience. We know that the travel time has peaks and valleys depending on the location, typically a rise in traffic during commute hours. The in-market optimizer only looks at the happy path travel time based on the distance, not counting these peaks and valleys. For example, a technician traveling from a warehouse in Kent to a delivery location in Seattle downtown is about 26 minutes when there is no traffic. In today's optimizer, the travel time is 26 minutes regardless to the time of travel, whether it be 8 or 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. Taking in historic travel time in account, it will be 45 minutes at 8 and going to be 53 minutes by 9 a.m. Let me quickly show you how easy it is to enable predictive travel within the product. We go to the optimization goal setting, pick a goal, and within that, we have the ability to enable Bing Maps with or without historic traffic when we do the distance calculation. After that, save and publish. That should be the end of the setting. As easy as that. With predictive travel capability, the optimizer not only adds the accurate travel time, it also looks to reshuffle the technician's bookings so their routes are efficient and still meet the business objective that is set for that run. We have few customers testing this capability now, and we are making it available for all in October. The next feature is about travel outside work hours, which extends the flexible way to define workforce rules. By setting travel outside work hours, we allow the optimizer to have the technician begin their day a little earlier or finish later, typically time used for commute. Let's look in the product real quick. Let's go into the resources. Let's pick David, for example. Scheduling tab, and here's the setting, schedule outside work hours, where one can set up either before or after work hours, or both of them. That is one. And then the travel limit in minutes. This allows typically an hour or 45 minutes before their workday or after workday to finish their commute to their home, from home or to home. Once this is done, the optimizer takes this into account whenever a schedule is created for these technicians. Next, we did a quick addition on top of existing objective that while assigning jobs to a resource with fewer skills first, assigning jobs to resources with fewer but required skill for a job allows the business to reserve resources with multiple or unique skills to fulfill future needs. It's a mouthful, I know. I will show a quick demo to demonstrate this as well. Here we go. I have pre-set up some of these demo tabs just to save some time. Let's start here. The resources view, I have two resources, David and Edgar. Let's pick David for the first. Here, if you go into the resource characteristics for David, he has boiler installation skills, let's say. Second tab, I'm going into Edgar. Edgar has boiler installation as well as repair jobs skills. And I have a requirement view that says I need to be fulfilling a requirement that requires boiler installation. Obviously, when the scheduler goes through, it'll be best if we assign the job to David instead of Edgar, because Edgar has an additional skill that can come handy if there is an emergency order that comes for the second skill that he has. I ran a simulation. That's why you're seeing this as a striked out. But the simulation shows that the optimizer picked David to do this particular work order. Hopefully, this demonstrates the skills match enhancements that we have done in this release upcoming in October. Moving on to the data science insights investments in this wave, we are releasing 3 Power BI reports natively embedded in Dynamics 365. The first report is for dispatcher to identify any potential warnings in upcoming bookings or requirements. Our machine learning model learns from customers' historical data and predicts any potential delays or faster completion of jobs. Transparency is key here, and all the AI investments, so the model also provides details on contributing factors so users can better understand these predictions and how we came about these. The next report is to identify efficiency across technicians in a territory. Dispatchers can look at the historical data to see the trends and patterns of booking that were overestimated or underestimated. The critical part of the report is the metrics on various job or what we call incident types. The resource proficiency model goes beyond simple averages here and generates a blended proficiency rating. The last report is to identify efficiency across technicians across territories. Customers can look at the historical data to see the trends of booking that were over the estimate and under the estimated duration over time. We are working very closely with few customers as we speak and expect to make these available for all starting in October. You can expect us to evolve, obviously, this into the scheduling engine and how the dispatchers can use natively within the board or within the optimizer, all in the upcoming waves. That's the end of our first segment, where we saw about 4 capabilities: predictive time, allow travel outside work hours, enhance skills match, and some of the reports that we are going to bring for insights, predictive work duration insights. So now in segment 2 is the most exciting part, where I talked about how 52% of our customers are still doing manual scheduling. Now we want to help this segment by bringing the intelligence of RSO into the schedule board itself. We call it Embedded Optimizer, and we are going to look at what are some of the capabilities that we are working on. Again, these are slides that I have, and these capabilities should be available by October to our customers. Let's look at a single requirement experience in the schedule board. What does it mean to say optimizer is embedded into the schedule board? At the bottom of the screen, you have the requirements, and then we have 2 options for the dispatcher. The first one is suggest resources, and then the second one is book resources. The idea is when the dispatchers are moving away from manual to automation, we want to have a gradual gain the confidence in the system kind of approach. First, suggest resources. When they make the call, system comes back with 2 or 3 suggestions, and then the details are given in the panel here. So they can look at it, and then they can decide which one to finalize the booking on. Once they gain the confidence in this approach, they can go directly to book resources. That's what we are going to deliver for our customers. So here's the book, and they can pick 1 or 2 or 3 and then go from there. Let's look at the multiple requirements. Very similar experience. In the bottom, you have the requirements. They can multi-select all the requirements that they want to do, and let's say either suggest or book. And on the right-hand side, we give the statistics of the bookings, such as the total travel time, total booking duration. Once they are satisfied, and the details are right there as well. Once they are satisfied, they can finalize the booking here. The third segment of our presentation today is about the next-gen schedule board. We talked about features that are happening in the engine and how the engine kind of comes into the capabilities, comes in to help the dispatchers in a seamless way into the board as an embedded optimizer. And the board we have been revamping for performance, scalability, user experience, and also some of these new experiences as the next gen experience. And we are happy to announce that it's going to go to GA in October. We previewed in April, lots of customers using, given feedback, and now we are taking it to GA, and we will continue to work on the new board in the next upcoming waves as well. To talk about the new next-gen schedule board, I'm going to ask one of my team members, Binay Nalam, who spends his entire day in schedule board and working with customers to walk us through. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vinay Nalam, APM from Resource Scheduling Team. Schedule board is a power tool for dispatchers to triage unscheduled work to eligible technicians. The goal of the new schedule board is to improve the performance, usability, and reliability. It is built using Power Apps component framework that is built from the ground up to improve the performance. It loads faster than in the in-market schedule board with performance improvements of around 40%. This experience is created using familiar Office and unified interface experiences. Let's talk about some of the usability enhancements we released on the new board since April 2020. When you drag and drop an unscheduled requirement from the requirement panel, in the in-market experience, user can only see a tooltip with the start time of the booking. In the new board, user can see a booking box as you're dragging it, and when you hover on the center area, you can see that there is a dotted box to signify where the booking is going to get snapped to when dropped. It also provides more information to user by providing more details like start time, end time, and the resource name. The in-market sort experience location of the button is confusing and the multi-field sort is unintuitive. In the new board, the location of the sort control is made contextual to the resources, and the sort experience design is inspired from the Azure DevOps complex sorting feature on the queries. Clearing the applied sort is easier and reduces the number of clicks by 3. There is no search functionality for the schedule board tabs in the in-market experience, and the user must scroll horizontally to access the tab. In the new experience, the tabs are indexed and user can search for a specific tab name. Also, these tabs are responsive and resize the overflow menu based on the size of the browser. When we switch from hourly view to the daily view on the in-market schedule board, the bookings show very small as shown here. To fix this, we are pushing usability enhancements to the daily view. That will be shipped in the Wave 2 release. This is one of the most popular requests from customers on the Ideas portal, which is to bridge the experience gaps between the hourly view and the multi-day views. In the in-market schedule board's daily view, the resource needs to be expanded to show the bookings. The bookings for 30 minutes or 60 minutes show as a thin line as are shown here. In the new design, the multi-day bookings would be shown as stacked bookings. Even when a booking duration is for 30 minutes, we display a booking with a constant width to improve the readability of the bookings. This is a behavior that is inspired from the Outlook experience. You can see the bookings and the details of the bookings directly, unlike in the old board. It reduces the need for the dispatchers to switch between hourly and daily views to read the details and make changes to the bookings. This saves a lot of clicks and time for them to carry their operations. The daily view can also be configured to show the resource capacity booked per each day. Dispatchers can create new bookings by drag and drop experience, like hourly view, reducing the experience gaps between the hourly and the daily views. The booking box is shown just like it is shown in the hourly view. The dispatchers can also select a day or a resource to leverage the booking panel to create bookings manually. These enhancements on the daily view are going to be available in the October GA of 2020 Wave 2, and the next generation schedule board will be generally available in this wave. We will continue to push updates on the new schedule board to provide parity with the existing in-market schedule board. Thank you for your time. You can find more details about the next generation schedule board at aka.ms/schedule board.